just over a month ago, more than 60 Manx musicians, visual artists, dancers and a DJ embarked on a 27-hour journey over land and sea, bound for a former fishing port in Brittany. Pourquoi, I hear you ask? Quite simply, for the chance to perform in front of almost a million-strong audience at the Festival Interceltique in Lorient. The Isle of Man has been represented at this incredible event, described as the rallying point for all those who love Celtic lands, for many years. This year's festival had a focus on Celtic youth, and this reflected in the 2024 lineup, with our Manx delegation including dance group Na Féini, youth band Scran with young singer Ailish Kilgallen, along with Manx musos Mira Royal, Jack McLean, Owen Williams and Chamui, aka DJ Johnny Cacken. Stalwarts of the trad scene Meclear, Emar and Ruth Kegan also performed during the festival, now internationally recognised artists in their own right and having been booked as headline acts. But despite the enormous size of this event and the international showcase opportunity that it provides our island creatives every year, many who are outside the trad scene still have no idea what it's all about. So I went along to the post-festival party to catch up with some of the performers, parents and delegates. First up, the Sheard sisters, who pull the whole thing together for the Isle of Man.
Granny and Ailey, you two have been involved with organising this contingent that goes over. I mean, I can't quite fathom how you all managed to do this, because you're volunteers, aren't you?
Yes, we work very hard all year round doing this, and when we go to the festival, the way that the festival says thank you is by treating us like VIPs when we're there. So it's very hard work, but we are very nicely rewarded for it as volunteers.
I mean, what does it actually involve to put all this together? Do you literally do everything? The travel, the gigs, the accommodation, everything?
Yes, we work with the festival throughout the year, so there's lots of emailings. There's also 2 meetings a year that we have to travel to discuss with the other delegates of the festival about logistics and stuff. But yeah, we basically have to sort out how they're getting there, where they're staying, who's going. So we make suggestions to the festival, and they basically say yes or no, and they tell us, oh, we want a dance group this year, or we want a brass band, or whatever they want, and we have to try and make it happen, which sometimes is we want a dance group, nobody's available, so we've had to make a dance group. So yeah, we have to pull strings and just make things happen, really.
Why do you do it, Grania?
Well, if anyone who's been to Lorient understands exactly why. We are put on an international stage with equal footing to all the other Celtic nations. You've never felt more proud to be where you're from and to share and celebrate your culture on this scale.
And how long have you actually been doing this, Aileen?
Well, my first Lorient was 2000. So that's a long time ago. I've been in various guises. I've been just as an extra with a band that was playing, sort of paying my own way. I've been working in the pavilion. I've been going as a performer, and then I was first delegate 10 years ago. Was my first Lorient, was 2014 as delegate. I did it for 5 years, then I took a break when Grania took over, and then last year I helped Grania out again. I ended up coming back in, and now it's the pair of us together, because it's such a huge job. It really needs 2 people, because when you're there, you might have one group is playing somewhere, another group playing somewhere else, and if there's a disaster, you need to be on hand to help. So yeah, you need 2 of us really. It works much better with 2 of us.
That's a lovely thing you're doing it together. It's really sweet. And you mentioned the delegates, because of course each nation has their own sort of set of delegates. So do you keep in touch with them, do you?
Oh yeah, they're really good friends. I mean, there's nothing that bonds you like Lorient. They're our festival family. We see them twice a year at the meetings, every year with Lorient, and we're in touch on WhatsApp almost daily with them. Just, whether it's Happy St David's Day or Happy St Paddy's Day or whatever it is, we're always in touch constantly, sharing and celebrating each other's cultures. They're dear friends of ours.
So if you were trying to describe Lorient, even just the feeling of it, Ailey, to anyone who's not been before, how would you do that?
It's very difficult. It's the way I try and describe it to people from the island, it's a bit like TT Week, but on steroids. It's a whole city. I get rid of the motorbikes and replace them with bagpipes. If people have been to the Edinburgh Festival, it's like that, but again, so much bigger. It's really hard. We try and explain. We tell people the numbers, the figures, that there's 850,000 that went this year, or I think it was 900,000 possibly this year. It keeps growing every year. But we give them these figures, we try and give them an idea. We say there's pipes everywhere, there's people marching around in costumes, kilts, the lot, but until you're actually there, it's very hard to get a real feel of
It's loud and colourful, isn't it?
Very, very, very much so, yeah.
And what have been some of your highlights since you very first started going?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, the year of the Isle of Man and Cornwall was, I think, it's got to be up there. That was my second year as delegate. It was a huge job.
Direction l'île de Man. Pour faire connaître ce petit bout de terre perdu en pleine mer d'Irlande, le Festival Interceltique a décidé de le nommer invité d'honneur cette année.
I don't really remember it. It was all a blur. It was just running around. But everyone was fantastic, and I think that was one of Grania's. I don't know if it was your first year?
Yeah, that was my first year, and I was pulling pints in the Manx Cornish Pavilion. It was great.
What are your highlights then?
I mean, the year of was amazing. The showcase that the Manx delegation put together, it was just seamlessly choreographed. It was all flowing into one. Everyone made a collaborative show, and I felt so emotional. It was amazing. But yeah, just every year it's just gets bigger and better, and more opportunities for our performers and artists to showcase themselves, and you just become tearful and proud.
It really makes you so very proud of the Manx musicians and the talent we've got, and the fact that we have bands like Meclia that get now booked directly by the festival. They don't come as the delegation.
And Ruth this year as well.
Yeah, Ruth was booked directly, so yeah, both of them, we've got really big Manx names. We've even sort of half adopted Rachel Hare. I don't know, she comes with Ruth. She's over here enough teaching our harpists anyway, so she's honorary Manx. But it's the fact that we've got those really talented musicians, and they know those names like Ruth Keggin. They always come and ask at the pavilion about Ruth, and David Kilgallen and Adam Rhodes and Tom Collister. Like they're the names. They're like, do you know them? We're like, yes, we do.
Yn chrynt ar eilian ni, son salja daut a gennal sai. Ten bilja fina smonach trú ma seo ta jain kunda smú. Molly di merams vanani en ljunvaileja has a vrai. Dak sien as dakrel ton de cholle soler sprinjon de bechestechel makka kol de newtje shogalish en se en nur as em get en lush feche hasatjes tashenish.
Hi Christy, it's Ruth Keggin here. I'm just back on the island after having performed in the Festival Interceltique de Lorient in Brittany. I was there for 2 days performing as one of the headline artists, which was a great honour. And as well as me being a headline artist from the Isle of Man, we also had musicians Tom Collister and Adam Rhodes as part of EMAR, who were a headline act, and the mighty Meclia, who were performing on Monday night, who are absolutely wonderful and one of my favourite bands ever, and that involves Tom Collister, Adam Rhodes and David Kilgallen. My role as a headline artist was partly that I was performing with Rachel Hare, who plays the harp, and she's a duo partner of mine, and she's from Scotland, but many people will know her in the music scene on the island for her role in teaching lots of young people the harp. And there was actually about 12 harpists from the Isle of Man out there this year, which is amazing, and massively thanks to her hard work with them, and also people like Mike Bolton as well in Ramsey. And the other thing I was doing was performing on Wednesday night as part of a big collaborative project called Celtic Odyssey. And that was with about 16 or so musicians from all around the Celtic nations. It was a sort of super group, I suppose you'd describe it as. So I was singing along with and sharing the stage with people like Julie Fowlis from Scotland, who has been one of my absolute inspirations for a long time, since I was a teenager. She's an incredible musician, singer, and other people as well, like Ross Ainsley, who is part of, he's part of many, many bands, but he's a brilliant piper and whistle player from Scotland as well. And just a whole host of names. It was an absolute joy to be able to share the stage and make music with them. And so we did that in the Grand Theatre in Lorient on the Wednesday night, and to a sellout audience. So that was a real joy to be part of, and a real privilege to be part of, and to meet so many other lovely musicians. So it was just a flying visit, and just absolutely over the moon to hear about how the young musicians in bands like Scran and the young dancers in the Feini and things like that, how everyone else is getting on. It's absolutely amazing to see the younger generation coming through and representing the Isle of Man so well. Anyway, I'll say Himu for now. See you. Bye.
As Ruth just suggested, the young musicians' scran certainly did represent the Isle of Man well. In fact, they got into the final for the Celtic Music Trophy, an internationally recognised competition which saw them compete against adults and professional musicians. Just days after this performance, they were back on the Isle of Man, playing again for a very appreciative crowd in Peel. So I caught up with them to find out what the experience had been like.
So I'm here in a very busy Black Dog Oven. It's raining outside, but there's happy faces in here because Scran have returned from the Lorient Interceltique Festival and they have done an awesome job out there. Just introduce yourself for me, please.
My name is Daniel.
And what age are you, Daniel? Do you mind saying?
I am 15.
Okay, tell me what you just did.
We have just done a number of gigs in front of probably a few thousand people, perhaps, on a variety of stages at the Festival Interceltique de Lorient. It was an absolutely amazing experience. I think it's safe to say we all thoroughly enjoyed it.
I'm not surprised. I mean, the photos, it looked like big gigs. You were all so brave to do that, I have to say. What do you play in Scran and how long have you been with the group?
Well, I only joined back in March, so I've not been here for very long at all, and I play the guitar.
Excellent. And do you have a choice of any of the tunes that get played?
They're all very good, to be honest. I've got to say I enjoy our reel set very much. That's got a lot of variety in it. It's just, everything is brilliant to say.
You have to be pretty quick on the guitar for reels, don't you?
Yes, yeah. I'd say I probably do thousands of strums every gig, to be honest. That's how fast my wrist has to move.
Oh, how are your fingers after Lorient?
I think the skin's got a lot harder on the ends, but you know.
I bet. So what was your highlight of the trip?
Has to be that first gig. Our first gig was on the Friday night. Massive, engaging crowd. Lots of Manxies there as well. So it was just, you know, such a buzz. And then at backstage as well. It was absolutely amazing.
I bet it was. Well, thanks for talking to us. And I won't keep you long because I know you've all got to... You're about to strike up here in Black Dog Oven. So let me know your name, your age and what you play in Scran.
I'm Neve. I'm 18 years old and I play the fiddle.
Tell me what it was like in Lorient.
It was incredible. There was just crowds of people who are from many different countries. Yeah, it was amazing.
Have you ever been before?
No, it was my first time.
What did you know about it beforehand?
Not a whole lot. We've seen photos from previous years and heard Sked and Jerg went, but nothing really.
So it must have blown your mind.
Yeah, it was insane.
Did you get to see any of the other Manx performers?
Yeah, we went to see Nafani, we went to see Ruth Keggin and a couple of other people.
So what was your highlight?
Probably the gigs on the main stage, the Pays de Celtes, because they were just full of energy.
I bet it was incredible. Okay, moving on. I can see some harps. We've got 2 harps in the group. What is your name and age, please?
My name is Risa and I'm 14.
Okay, so you've just come back from Lorient, obviously, with Scran. How long have you played with the group?
I have played for the group with just over a year now, I think, and this was our first time going to Lorient and it was incredible.
What did it feel like to you? Because, I mean, to have all of those people there supporting you, watching you, really getting involved in your performance.
It felt quite unusual at first, but once you start playing, you kind of block out the crowd, so you just zone in on what you're playing and make it sound even better.
And what about their response to the Manx side of things, whether it be the tunes or the fact you're all from the Isle of Man?
I think Scran have grown a lot since we've gone to Lorient. We get people coming up to us asking, what are Scran, where are we from? And when we say the Isle of Man, they're actually really shocked, especially the people who've never heard of the Isle of Man.
Well, we've taught them now, haven't we, with what you all do, so Gentamai, well done. Okay, we have our second harp player. What is your name and age, please?
I'm Aelith and I'm 16.
Okay, so how long have you been in Scran?
Just over a year.
I haven't yet come to the fact that you all got through to a final of something very important. Tell us about that.
It was really impressive that we actually got through because there were 15 bands, 15 bands competing and a final of 4, and it was just amazing that we got through the heats and into the final even if we didn't win.
And this is with experienced musicians you're up against?
Yeah, like some of them were actual adults as well, like, whoa.
I love that, actual adults. And what was the final like?
It's sort of just another gig. It was quite impressive, the amount of people there, and it was exciting knowing that we had a chance of winning, but that was before we knew who we were playing against, so there was less pressure at that point.
So now you've come home knowing that you've got that far. I mean, what does that mean to you?
It's just really impressive that we were able to do that after just playing with each other for such a short amount of time as well.
Well, gentlemen, moving on, your name and age, please.
I'm Frank, I'm 15.
And Frank, you've been on the team for a long time, haven't you? You've been to Lorient before?
Yeah, quite a few times, yeah. We usually go with the dance group, Sken Jerk, so...
And tell us about this time round, what was it like for you?
Well, it was weird because I've never actually been a proper artist before at Lorient. I've just been either dancing or playing for the groups. So that was pretty cool. Usually we don't go backstage or stuff like that. I've never properly done a gig before, and that was just really cool.
So you're here playing at Black Dog Oven now, but then what's next for you all?
Well, so we wanted to keep going with it. Because before we knew we were going to Lorient, we weren't rehearsing very much. It was an infrequent thing. But now we're all together as a formed group, like a full, we've got sets and everything. We're going to see if we can rehearse more often now, so see if we can, move on with the group.
So it's kind of encouraged you to carry on. And with regard to your set, wasn't there a family link to some of the music you were playing?
Yeah, so one of the sets, it was actually put in sort of last minute. It was the Hustler set, which is a tune written by my dad. We did that to a dance as well. And also there was a tune that I wrote in there as well. Yeah.
That's amazing that you got to play your own music. So what are you doing next, Frank?
Well, now that before Lorient, as I said, it was all a bit up in the air. But now I feel like we're a proper group and we can move forward with that. We see we can try and get a third CD or whatever done. Because we haven't had Dave as our leader for long. So now we're all together. We can hopefully make some more music.
Well, we'll have a word with Dave in a minute, but Gentamai, Intertag Frank. Okay, and coming to you, your name and age and what you play.
Hi, I'm Fraser and I'm playing the piano.
Okay, what was your experience like last week?
It was amazing because it was very inspirational watching all the other people play, and it was just great joy to play for people in Lorient.
And it's trad music. Is that something that you were into before being in Scran?
Yes, definitely, because I've been playing the piano for 9 years, and my teacher, Katie Lawrence, is very trad, and she's taught me lots of tunes.
So what were some of your highlights?
Some of my highlights were staying up late and playing late night gigs with everyone, and just meeting new people and talking to people from different countries.
What sort of advice would you have for any young musicians out there?
You have to practice a lot and just stay focused. Even if you fail, you have to keep trying again and again.
We've just been chatting with members of Scran. Frank being one of them, I was asking about a particular tune that was included, or a set that was included, which you wrote, and then he said that actually he'd written something that was played as well.
Yeah, step aside, Jamie. It's Frank's time now. I'm just chaperone dad now these days. I've come down in the Lorient rankings a bit,
I mean, you've obviously been going for a long time as a performer. Do you remember your first one?
Yeah, I do. I remember. Well, I don't remember my first one because I was still being carried by my mum when the first time I went to Lorient. Yeah, and I went, I think, as a baby as well. And the first memory I've got is, I think I must have been I was still very young. I'm not sure what age, but I remember my parents took my grandpa, my mum's dad, with them, and my nan actually, and they were kind of brought along partly to enjoy the festival, but mostly to look after me while they did all the performing and going out and stuff. So I remember sort of sitting in some of the lovely bars with my grandpa, and he'd be asking for Pernod, and if he had this particular favourite bar, he'd always be sitting there drinking his pasties. I'd be in the buggy or whatever, and we went back. My parents said we went back the following year and went to that bar, and the people in the bar were like, "Où est le grand-père? Où est le grand-père?"
Lovely. I think that's the thing about it.
French that roughly equates to where's the grandpa?
I believed you. I believed you. That's the thing, isn't it? Because it's one of those things. You can go back year on year if you're lucky enough to, and you can forge friendships and create memories as a family, not least as a performer.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's several generations there. And from Frank's perspective, not just my side of the family, but obviously Grania's our other side of the family as well. They've been going, like Grania's parents, Greg and Jan, went when they were in the early days of probably Perry Ben, I think. And obviously Greg's been with Hilary and performed several times, and all the brothers. So everyone's been and got involved and represented the Isle of Man down the years, various times in various guises, and that's the beauty of that festival. Really, it's not many places where you can have that. It's basically guaranteed. Isle of Man's always got its part there. Always stands alongside the other Celtic nations as an equal, and we've always got that. Every year we've got a chance to bring artists, people who deserve to go and represent the Isle of Man, and they get their chance, and they get, like Scran this year, playing on stages that they wouldn't normally get a chance to play on at their stage that they are in their sort of. Careers, I guess, now. It's taken
what was it like watching Frank with all those audiences?
Yeah, what I was really impressed by watching them is how composed they were, not sort of freaked out, not phased. I'm sure there was adrenaline pumping, but they weren't overcome by the occasion, and there was some, quite significant size audiences, probably in the thousands, I reckon, a couple of them, and they just gave it their all. Do you know what I mean? They really sort of enjoyed and got the most out. And Dave's obviously great, mentoring them and encouraging them as well. But yeah, I was really impressed. Really, I was thinking, these kids are ahead of where I was at that age. I mean, I was still very shy and sort of like, oh.
Well, you must just be thinking, where's he going to go next?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know it's scary stuff, really, but also very exciting. And they've got the other thing that's been brilliant is how they sort of bonded over the course of the week. It was so good for them to be able to go for the full festival, settle in, get into the spirit of it, get inspired by the other groups. And we were having sessions. We were getting together with all the Nafani dancers and musicians and having some late night sessions, and all the youngsters getting involved. So it was, that was really nice to see as well.
And Chloe Woolley, Culture Banner plays a big part in this as well, and watching Scran, I mean, you guys must be so proud of what they've achieved.
Absolutely. When Lorient announced that it was going to be a year of Celtic youth last year, we're like, right, well, we need to put Scran in the running for this. And of course, it's not up to us, it's the festival that select the acts. So bands have to put a proposal in. So we put Scran forward and they were accepted, which was absolutely amazing. And so we had maybe 6 months. Dave worked with the band. They were rehearsing so hard and dedicated all run up to Lorient to putting on a really good show, good variety, and they've absolutely blown it out of the water, really.
They really have. I mean, to get through to that final, the top four in that, absolutely extraordinary. And I don't think it can be underestimated what that does for the Isle of Man. Every year, to be honest, but especially seeing the youth. I mean, the audience and the showcase that we have out there is enormous, isn't it?
It's huge. It is, and it's really hard to explain back home unless you've been there. And it's a huge number of people that come to watch the shows every day, all enthusiastic, all love the Isle of Man, and probably all want to come and visit at some point and absorb. But for the young musicians, the fact that they're bonding over this crazy experience and they're meeting loads of other musicians and seeing the professionals as well, they're mixing with them. It's got to be leading to something extra and pretty special.
Yeah. And you've been going for years as well, haven't you?
I have. Well, when Jamie was just talking about going as a youth, my first time I was age 10, and Grania was there actually. So Frank's mum was there, age 5, And I went with my parents, and I remember it being quite terrifying because it's so huge. Coming from Ballaglassland and going to this huge, crazy, immense festival was pretty amazing. But we've been back several times, obviously, through Culture Van, and then we had the big year in 2015. It's just an amazing opportunity. I think it is the main opportunity for Manx bands actually to develop, but also to meet others, and for the Incredict as well, because I'm helping the committee with that. It's where you do your talent spotting, you meet bands. So for instance, we were there with Sked and Jerg last year, and we met the Len Collective from Dublin, and so 8 of them came over from Dublin to perform at Incredict this year. And you know, that's how connections are made face to face, and that's how we sell the Isle of Man culture.
And we absolutely do. And you know, our culture is strong for sure, and you know, putting it out there is so important. And I think one of the things that I think, Jamie, as well, is that if you're not part of the trad scene, you maybe think, oh, it's probably quite niche, isn't it? But this is enormous, and it's becoming more and more mainstream, isn't it? I mean, I don't even know what trad music means anymore, because it encompasses so much, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, to me that's a sign of the strength that is in the traditional scene over here at the moment, and I think that's built up over time. And credit to Chloe and Culture Vanning for their part in that, and credit to all the people who volunteer. You got the likes of Grania with Sked and Jerg. You know, we moved over, and within a year she'd set up a new dance team. But then also we've got the likes of Jew and Garrett, who still bringing fantastic Nafani sides together, you know, and bringing a whole new generations of, you know, kids from the schools up in Ramsey together and taking them. So yeah, it's very inclusive. You've got people, for example, Dan, the guitarist in Scran. It wasn't that many months ago he wasn't involved in, you know, it was only quite recently he's got into it, and he wasn't playing trad music before, but then within a few months you get involved, take an interest, and next thing you're playing on big stages in Lorient and going, what the hell's this? This is awesome. And he's having the time of his life up there. He was a man possessed on stage. It was brilliant. I mean, the enthusiasm. It was, you know, really, you know, seeing he played an integral role on that week, you know, and that's from a few months of just getting involved and showing an interest and being keen, really. And it's very inclusive, yeah.
It really is, and I've got to say I'm so proud of them. They're so young, and to have done what they've done. My word, they're brave, aren't they?
Oh, they absolutely are. And I think it helped because they had a 27-hour journey to get there on a ferry coach, and they all got to know each other with the Faney members as well.
Parents as well.
So there was a lot of music making. As soon as you got on the Manannan, wasn't it, on the ferry, they were all playing sessions at first thing in the morning. So that bonding experience goes a long way. It does. Creates, develops the community back home.
Well, all the very best for the future with future Lorient's Isle of Man contingent going out. We're going to go watch some more of Scran playing here at the Black Dog Oven. Do you know what's next for Scran?
Well, they've got lots of big ideas, so I don't know. We'll have to have a little chat next.
Maybe a tree album?
Well, there is talk of that,
yes. Fingers crossed anyway, because it is obviously it's an ever-changing group of musicians because of their ages, isn't it, really? So we will keep an eye on them. And Gurumaya, thanks for talking to us today.
Gurumaya.
Just introduce yourself for me, please.
Johnny Kagan.
Yeah, that's the most Manx Johnny Kagan I think I've ever heard. Johnny, you were just at Lorient, but you were DJing. Tell us about it.
Indeed, artist name's Chow Mui, which means outside in Manx Gaelic.
And what did you actually do there? What were you sort of playing?
Essentially, I've chopped up the old recordings of the last native Manx speakers, known as Skeelan and Vannin, and incorporated different genres of electronic music, right from bits of house through to D&B.
That is so cool. I mean, how long have you been doing this for?
Not long enough.
Did you feel that when you were out there?
Indeed, yeah.
What sort of crowds did you have?
I think we had about 300-400.
That's amazing, isn't it? When you think, and that's got to be something so unusual for the festival as well.
A lot of people didn't know what to think, but they thoroughly enjoyed it.
Give us an idea of some of the snippets of conversation that was in there.
Words about herding various animals, the pigs, the sheep, the calves, things, talking about the wind, all these Manx things are great.
I love that. I mean, that's so different, isn't it, Ailey?
Yeah, I love it. Me and Granny were trying to persuade him to go for ages. We're like, please do it. So pleased he did.
It must have been quite the thing being up there and watching it and just watching people's faces, obviously thinking, what is this?
Yes, well, the young ones in our group were all watching as well, and they were like, wow, what is this? And nobody, he's a dark horse, nobody knew he DJ'd. He's never had a gig over here. He just does it in his own house, and we've heard it, so we pushed him. But yeah, they were all blown away. They were like, oh my God, this is amazing. We need to hear you play more.
So when are we going to hear you play more?
Soon enough.
Oh, he's a mystery, isn't he?
We're progressing. There'll be an EP released the next couple of weeks, so we're going forwards with it.
Producer, DJ and Manx enthusiast Johnny Cacken there, inviting us, in his words, on a journey through time and space where the ancient meets the avant-garde and the echoes of the past reverberate into the future. Wonderful stuff. Eilish Kilgallen has had quite the year. Back in January, at the age of just 11, she took first place in the juniors category of the Young Singer of Man competition. Just a few months later, at the Lorient Festival, she represented the Isle of Man as an artist in her own right, in a number of ways.
I danced, I sang, and I played the cajon, which is like a big box that when you hit it, it makes a noise. But some of the shows I couldn't dance for because the stage was too small, and we had to fit all the instruments like the harps and the piano on. So, yeah.
And you've been to Lorient before, haven't you?
Yes, I've been to Lorient 2 times before. This was my 3rd.
Dave, obviously, Eilish, your daughter, you must be super proud of her to start with, but you've been not long with Scran, have you?
No, well, a year and a half, I'd say, now that we've actually put it together. And this formation of Scran only really came together in the last half of the year. And they've really pulled through. We've had a few workshops in that time, but getting to Lorient itself was quite sort of elevating them to the next level.
I mean, what was it like being on stage with them, looking out at those crowds?
Oh, it was great. Definitely shed a tear a couple of times. It was really proud to sort of see them all come to life. With that, it's a massive experience for them, and I think, in fact, every parent said their children have returned home a completely different person. So, which is what I thought would happen. So it's great. It's good.
And you were dipping your finger in every musical pot when you were there, weren't you?
Well, I know. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely not easy play because I played with McLear on the Monday night, and that's usually a very late night gig, and I don't get back, off the stage till 2 a.m. or something like that. So it's quite difficult. It's a totally different kettle of fish. That I kept my distance from Scran until I was at least in some kind of fit state to come back. And obviously then meeting a lot of colleagues. I've performed with Breton colleagues as well. So there's quite a lot to pack in actually in the week. Really is.
Why do you think it's important for these young musicians to experience something like Lorient?
I suppose it gives them an opportunity to dream about the sort of bigger picture of some of this, and certainly when you play a folk instrument. And I've done workshops with kids before actually, and sort of tried to explain to them. If you just because you play a different genre doesn't necessarily mean there aren't opportunities out there. There are lots of opportunities, and I think when the children come to somewhere like Festival Interceltique de Lorient, they can see just the potential that and the amount of people that listen to them, and where that could actually bring them, and that could elevate your career in lots of different directions.
Do you remember your first one? What age you were?
Oh, I think it was 18 actually with King Ciorla years ago, and it was a lot different back then, I can tell you. But I think we were totally overwhelmed. There was probably nowhere near the amount of organisation that there is today. You kind of needed to find your own feet a little bit back then. But we got the bug, and actually we wanted to return as quickly as we possibly could. So I think we were back the next year after that actually somehow.
And now in many iterations, as with Scran this year. I mean, as I was just saying to Eilish there, it's quite hard to actually convey to someone who's not been how important important that festival is for Isle of Man culture, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I think anyone who's helped within the Manx Pavilion, they are literally ambassadors, really, of the Isle of Man to anybody who comes along to that stall. And, you know, they're selling products and goods, and if they're not doing that, they're telling everybody exactly where the Isle of Man is and exactly what it's got to offer. And not only that, if they want to have a taste of what the Isle of Man can offer culturally, they will point them in the direction of the galleries or the fashion shows or the performers, poetry, you name it, you know, and they might even get to sample some Fynodwy gin or something like that, you know. So it's really important, actually, and I think this is the message that comes back every year. We're lucky, I think, that we had a year of the Isle of Man, because that really did change things, and it brought everybody's attention to, again, just what the Isle of Man can offer. So it's a strength, it's a real strength for the island. Yeah.
And speaking of a strength, these guys getting into the final of that award, I mean, that's extraordinary, isn't it?
I know, I was gobsmacked. I did, you know, when you go into these competitions, you say, like, there's lots of bands, you've only just started, you know, all that kind of stuff to prepare them. But then they offered us, you know, the final place as well. And I said the same thing again. I said, you've already won, you know, you've made it to the final. That's a really good achievement. But, you know, you can pull out your A game. And I think they were all happy with the result, actually. You know, I think the winners were fair winners, and they really, they're out for the kill. So
well, these guys can just try again next year then.
Well, exactly. It's somewhere to go, and I think that's the thing. There's always room for improvement, isn't there? And in a way, it was the best result possible.
Well, Gendamai, Ulia, well done to all of you. It's fantastic. Yindasak, we're going to let you guys play now, so I'm going to stay and listen to this incredible set from these young musicians, Scran, and do keep us posted on future.
Cheers, Christy. Cheers.
Let's finish with a word from Ailey and Grania Sheard.
When do you start planning for next year?
Well, the festival themselves take September off, which is well deserved because they work so incredibly hard. So we all get a bit of a break in September, and then we start organising for next year sort of towards the end of September. And we're already thinking about ideas for next year. We've already been making a list all through the festival of who would be good, and they are celebrating the American cousins and the American Celtic diaspora next year.
Guramayu, thank you so much. And Gendamai, because it is incredible what you guys do, and the fact you do it as volunteers blows my mind. But as you said, when you're there, you see it, you get it, don't you? Yeah.